The afternoon sun was getting lower as 12-year-old Tyler walked down Maple Street. His backpack hung heavy on his shoulders, filled with textbooks from his school across town. Most kids his age took the bus home, but Tyler didn't mind the long walk. It gave him time to think about his math homework and the science project due next week. Tyler had been walking this same route for 2 years now. His mom worked double shifts at the hospital, so she couldn't drive him to the better school in Riverside Hills. But Tyler didn't complain. He knew his mom was doing everything she could to give him opportunities she never had. As he turned the corner onto Oak Avenue, Tyler heard something that made him stop. Someone was crying. Not the loud kind of crying, but the quiet, frustrated kind that comes when everything goes wrong at once. Tyler looked around and saw a white car pulled over on the side of the road. Steam was coming from under the hood, and one of the tires looked completely flat. A woman in a business suit was sitting in the driver's seat, holding her phone up in the air like she was trying to get a signal. Tyler hesitated for a moment. His grandfather had always taught him to help people when they needed it, but this was a fancy car in a fancy neighborhood. The woman probably wouldn't want help from a kid like him, but then he heard her say something that changed his mind. "Please, just work," she whispered to her phone. "I can't be late for this meeting. Everything depends on it." Tyler walked over to the car. The woman looked up at him through the window. She had tears in her eyes, and her perfectly styled hair was starting to come undone. "Excuse me," Tyler said politely. "Are you okay? Do you need help?" The woman rolled down her window. She looked surprised to see a young boy offering help. "Oh, sweetheart, that's very kind of you, but I don't think... this is a grown-up problem." Tyler smiled. "My grandfather owns a garage. He's been teaching me about cars since I was 8. Maybe I can take a look?" The woman, whose name was Catherine, studied Tyler's face. There was something about this kid that seemed different. He spoke clearly and looked her right in the eyes. Most 12-year-olds she knew were glued to their phones or video games. "I'm Catherine," she said, getting out of the car. "And honestly, I'm desperate. My phone is dead, my tire is flat, and I have the most important meeting of my life in 30 minutes. "I'm Tyler," he replied, already walking around to look at the flat tire. "This doesn't look too bad. Do you have a spare tire?" Catherine nodded toward the trunk. "I think so, but I've never changed a tire in my life. I usually just call roadside assistance." Tyler popped open the trunk and found the spare tire, jack, and tools. But when he checked the spare tire, he shook his head. "The spare is pretty low on air too," he said. "It'll work for a short trip, but you'll need to get air in it first." Catherine felt her heart sink. "So I'm stuck?" "Not necessarily," Tyler said, thinking. "There's a gas station about 4 blocks from here. If we can get your spare tire there, we can fill it up and then come back to change it." "But how would we get there?" Catherine asked. Tyler looked around. "Well, we could ask someone for help." Just then, a pickup truck drove by. Tyler waved at the driver, who slowed down and pulled over. "Hey there," the driver called out. "You folks need help?" Tyler explained the situation. The driver, a friendly man named Bob, said he'd be happy to take Tyler and the spare tire to the gas station. "I'll be right back," Tyler told Catherine. "Don't worry." As Tyler rode to the gas station with Bob, Catherine found herself amazed. This 12-year-old boy had taken charge of the situation better than most adults she knew. He'd been polite, confident, and resourceful. 20 minutes later, Tyler returned with the properly inflated spare tire. He immediately got to work changing the flat tire. Catherine watched as he carefully loosened the lug nuts, positioned the jack, and lifted the car. "Where did you learn to do all this?" Catherine asked. "My grandfather," Tyler said, not stopping his work. "He says knowing how to fix things is important. You never know when someone might need help." "What does he do?" "He runs a small garage on the other side of town. It's not fancy, but he's been fixing cars for 40 years. He's teaching me everything he knows." Catherine was impressed by how Tyler handled the tools. He wasn't just copying what he'd seen. He understood what he was doing and why. "What about school?" she asked. "Don't you have homework?" Tyler smiled as he tightened the lug nuts. "I do my homework after I help at the garage. I walk to Riverside Elementary every day because they have better science and math programs." "You walk all the way to Riverside Elementary?" Catherine was shocked. "That was at least 2 miles from this neighborhood." "It's not that far," Tyler said, "and I like the walk. It gives me time to think about things." As Tyler finished putting the flat tire in the trunk, Catherine realized something. This boy was walking miles every day just to get a good education. He was learning practical skills from his grandfather while keeping up with his studies. And when he saw someone in trouble, his first instinct was to help. "All done," Tyler said, wiping his hands on a rag he kept in his backpack. "This should get you to your meeting, but you'll want to get the flat tire fixed soon." Catherine pulled out her wallet. "Let me pay you for this." "You saved my life." Tyler shook his head. "I don't need money. I'm just glad I could help." "But you spent your time. My grandfather always says the best payment for helping someone is knowing you made their day better." Catherine looked at this remarkable young man and felt something shift inside her. In her world of business deals and profit margins, she'd forgotten that there were still people like Tyler and his grandfather. People who helped others just because it was the right thing to do. "Tyler," she said, "I don't know how to thank you." "Just get to your meeting," Tyler said, shouldering his backpack. "And be safe driving." As Tyler started to walk away, Catherine called after him. "Wait, what's your grandfather's garage called?" "Peterson's Auto Repair," Tyler called back. "It's on Lincoln Street." Catherine watched Tyler walk away, his backpack bouncing with each step. She got in her car and started the engine. As she drove toward her meeting, she couldn't stop thinking about the boy who had changed her tire and maybe changed her life. She made it to her meeting with 5 minutes to spare. But for the first time in years, Catherine realized that the most important thing that happened to her that day had nothing to do with business. Catherine sat in her leather chair at the head of the conference table, but her mind wasn't on the quarterly report spread out in front of her. She kept thinking about Tyler, the 12-year-old boy who had saved her day. While her business partners discussed profit margins and market expansion, she found herself wondering about his walk home. The meeting that had seemed so important an hour ago now felt different. Her company was doing well, making millions, but what was the point of it all? When was the last time she had helped someone just because it was the right thing to do? "Catherine?" Her business partner David was looking at her with concern. "You seem distracted. Are you all right?" "I'm fine," Catherine said, forcing herself to focus. Just thinking about something that happened earlier, but she wasn't fine. Something had changed in those 20 minutes on Oak Avenue. Tyler's simple act of kindness had shown her a part of the world she'd forgotten existed. After the meeting ended, Catherine found herself driving back toward Oak Avenue instead of heading home to her empty penthouse apartment. She told herself she just wanted to make sure Tyler had made it home safely, but deep down she knew it was more than that. She drove slowly down the streets, looking for any sign of the boy with the heavy backpack. After 15 minutes, she spotted him walking along Lincoln Street. He was moving at a steady pace, not rushing, just walking with purpose. Catherine pulled her car over and got out. "Tyler," she called. Tyler turned around, surprised to see her. "Catherine? How did your meeting go?" "It went well, thanks to you," she said. "I wanted to make sure you got home okay." Tyler smiled. "I'm almost there. Just stopped by my grandfather's garage first." Catherine looked around and noticed they were standing in front of a small, older building with a sign that read Peterson's Auto Repair. The paint was faded, but the windows were clean and she could see someone working inside. "Would you mind if I met your grandfather?" Catherine asked. "I'd like to thank him for raising such a helpful young man." Tyler's face lit up. "He'd love to meet you. Come on." They walked into the garage together. Catherine immediately smelled motor oil and heard the sound of tools clanking. An older man with gray hair and kind eyes looked up from under the hood of an old sedan. "Grandpa Joe," Tyler called out. "This is Catherine, the lady I helped today." Grandpa Joe wiped his hands on a rag and walked over with a warm smile. "So you're the one my grandson rescued today. He came in here talking about a fancy car and a business lady who needed help." Catherine laughed. "He's being modest. He completely saved my day. I would have missed the most important meeting of my career if it wasn't for Tyler." "That boy's got a good heart," Grandpa Joe said proudly. "Been helping people since he could walk. Last week he helped Mrs. Johnson down the street carry her groceries when her arthritis was acting up." Found the garage. It was small but organized. Tools were neatly arranged and she could see that Grandpa Joe took pride in his work. On a workbench in the corner, she noticed textbooks next to a partially assembled radio. "Are those your school books, Tyler?" she asked. Tyler nodded. "I do my homework here after school. Grandpa Joe helps me with math sometimes, and I help him with the newer car computers. Technology changes so fast." Catherine was amazed. "You do your homework in the garage?" It's quiet here, Tyler explained. And if someone needs help with their car, I can learn something new. Grandpa Joe chuckled. This boy's got the mind of an engineer, always asking how things work and why they work that way. Last month he figured out why Mrs. Peterson's car was making a funny noise when I couldn't. Turned out to be a loose belt. But Tyler heard it first. Catherine watched Tyler's face as his grandfather praised him. The boy didn't act proud or show off. He just listened respectfully and smiled. What do you want to be when you grow up, Tyler? Catherine asked. Tyler's eyes brightened. I want to be an engineer. Maybe design cars or build bridges. I love figuring out how to make things work better. He's got the grades for it too, Grandpa Joe added. All A's this year, just like last year. His teachers say he's got real potential. Catherine felt something stirring in her chest. Here was a boy with incredible potential, working hard every day, walking miles to get a good education and still finding time to help others. It reminded her of stories her own grandmother used to tell about the importance of community and helping your neighbors. Tyler, Catherine said, what's your favorite subject in school? Science, Tyler answered immediately, especially when we do experiments. Last week we built a simple motor and I couldn't stop thinking about how to make it more efficient. Catherine smiled. In her world of business, she met a lot of people who talked about success and money, but Tyler talked about learning and helping and making things better. It was refreshing in a way she hadn't experienced in years. Grandpa Joe, Catherine said, you should be very proud. Tyler is an exceptional young man. I am proud, Grandpa Joe said, putting his hand on Tyler's shoulder, but I can't take all the credit. His mother works harder than anyone I know to make sure this boy has opportunities. She's at the hospital right now pulling a double shift so Tyler can stay in that good school. Catherine felt her heart tighten. She works double shifts? Tyler nodded. Mom's a nurse's aide. She wants to become a full nurse someday, but she's too busy working to go back to school right now. Catherine was quiet for a moment. Here was a family working incredibly hard, sacrificing so much just to give their child a chance at a better future. Tyler's mother was working double shifts. His grandfather was teaching him valuable skills, and Tyler himself was walking miles every day and maintaining perfect grades. You know, Catherine said slowly, I run a technology company. We're always looking for bright young people who might be interested in engineering careers. Tyler's eyes widened. Really? What kind of technology? We design software for cars, actually. The computer systems that help cars run more efficiently and safely. Tyler practically bounced with excitement. That's amazing. I've been wondering how those systems work. Grandpa Joe's been teaching me about the mechanical parts, but the computer parts are still a mystery. Catherine found herself smiling more genuinely than she had in months. Tyler's enthusiasm was infectious. When was the last time she'd felt that excited about her work? Maybe sometime I could show you our offices, Catherine offered. If your mother and grandfather think it's okay. That would be incredible, Tyler said, then caught himself. I mean, if it's not too much trouble. No trouble at all, Catherine said, and she meant it. As Catherine prepared to leave, Grandpa Joe walked her to her car. That's a good boy you helped today, she told him. Grandpa Joe nodded. He is, but I think maybe he helped you too. Catherine looked at him in surprise. What do you mean? The older man smiled knowingly. You've got the look of someone who just remembered something important. Something they'd forgotten. Catherine drove home that evening thinking about Grandpa Joe's words. She had forgotten something important. She'd forgotten that success wasn't just about making money or winning business deals. It was about making a difference in the world, one person at a time. That night, instead of reviewing business reports, Catherine found herself researching engineering programs for gifted students. She wasn't sure why, but she couldn't stop thinking about Tyler's bright eyes when he talked about building bridges and designing cars. Something had definitely changed that afternoon on Oak Avenue, and Catherine was beginning to realize it might be the best thing that had happened to her in years. 3 weeks had passed since Catherine met Tyler, but she couldn't get the boy and his family out of her mind. She'd driven past Peterson's auto repair several times, always finding an excuse to be in that neighborhood. Each time she saw Tyler there after school, doing homework at the workbench or helping his grandfather with simple repairs. Catherine had been successful in business because she trusted her instincts, and her instincts told her that Tyler was special. Not just smart, but genuinely good in a way that was becoming rare in her world. Finally, she decided to do something about it. On a Thursday afternoon, Catherine walked into Peterson's auto repair carrying a large envelope. Tyler was there, as usual, working on math problems while his grandfather fixed a transmission. "Catherine," Tyler looked up with a bright smile. "What brings you here?" "I have something for you," she said, handing him the envelope. "But I want you to open it with your grandfather." Tyler carefully opened the envelope and pulled out a packet of papers. His eyes grew wide as he read. "Grandpa Joe," Tyler called out excitedly. "Come look at this." Grandpa Joe walked over, wiping his hands on a rag. Tyler showed him the papers, and the older man's eyebrows shot up. "What is this?" Grandpa Joe asked. Catherine smiled. "It's information about a summer engineering program at the state university. It's designed for gifted students who want to explore engineering careers. I thought Tyler might be interested." Tyler's hands were shaking as he read through the program description. "This sounds amazing." "Look, Grandpa. They teach you about building robots and designing bridges and even programming computers." But as Tyler read further, his excitement faded. He looked up at Catherine with disappointed eyes. "It costs $3,000, he said quietly. "We can't afford that." Catherine had expected this. "Actually, I was hoping I could sponsor Tyler's participation. My company believes in investing in bright young people." The garage fell silent. Grandpa Joe looked at Catherine suspiciously. "Why would you do that?" he asked. "You barely know us." Catherine had been thinking about this question for weeks. "Because Tyler helped me when I needed it most. Because he's the kind of person this world needs more of. And because I believe everyone deserves a chance to reach their potential." Grandpa Joe studied her face. "What do you want in return?" "Nothing," Catherine said honestly. "I just want to see Tyler succeed." Tyler looked between his grandfather and Catherine, hope and worry battling in his expression. "We'd need to talk to his mother," Grandpa Joe said finally. "She makes the decisions about Tyler's education." "Of course," Catherine agreed. "When would be a good time to meet her?" That evening, Catherine found herself sitting in the small living room of Tyler's home. The apartment was tiny but spotlessly clean. Family photos covered one wall, and Catherine could see Tyler's perfect report cards displayed proudly on the refrigerator. Tyler's mother, Diana, was exactly what Catherine had expected. She was tired from working double shifts, but her eyes were alert and protective when she looked at her son. She listened carefully as Catherine explained about the summer program. "This is very generous," Diana said slowly. "But I don't understand why you want to help us. We're strangers to you." Catherine had practiced this conversation, but sitting here in this modest home, looking at this hard-working family, she found herself speaking from her heart instead of her prepared speech. "I've been successful in business," she began, "but somewhere along the way I lost sight of why success matters. Tyler reminded me that the point isn't just to make money, it's to make a difference. I want to help him because he helped me remember who I want to be." Diana looked at Tyler, who was sitting quietly on the couch, trying not to look too hopeful. "Tyler," Diana said, "what do you think about this?" Tyler took a deep breath. "I really want to go, Mom, but only if you think it's okay. I don't want you to feel like you owe anyone anything." Diana smiled at her son's maturity. At 12, he was already thinking about family pride and dignity. She turned back to Catherine. "If we accept this help, what would you expect from Tyler?" "I'd expect him to work hard and learn everything he can," Catherine said. "And maybe if he's willing, he could visit my company sometime and see what engineers actually do." Diana was quiet for a long moment. Catherine could see her weighing the opportunity against her natural caution about accepting help from strangers. "Can I think about it?" Diana asked finally. "Of course," Catherine said. "Take all the time you need." As Catherine prepared to leave, Tyler walked her to the door. "Catherine looked thank you," he said quietly. "Even if we can't accept, thank you for thinking of me." Catherine felt her throat tighten. "Tyler, you're going to do amazing things whether you go to this program or not. I just hope I can help make the path a little easier." Over the next week, Catherine didn't push for an answer. Instead, she found herself thinking about what else she could do to help. She researched scholarship programs, looked into mentorship opportunities, and even started volunteering at the local community center. Finally, Diana called Catherine and asked if they could meet again. This time, when Catherine arrived at Tyler's home, she found Diana, Tyler, and Grandpa Joe all waiting for her. "We've decided to accept your help," Diana said, "but with conditions," Catherine nodded. "What conditions?" "First, Tyler will write you a report about everything he learns in the program. Second, if you ever need help with anything at all, you call us. We don't take charity, but we accept help between friends. Catherine felt tears welling up in her eyes. Friends. I like that. Tyler jumped up from the couch, unable to contain his excitement any longer. I'm really going to engineering camp. As Catherine watched Tyler's joy, she realized that Diana's conditions were perfect. This wasn't charity. This was the beginning of something much more important, a relationship based on mutual respect and genuine caring. Later that evening, Catherine sat in her penthouse apartment, looking out at the city lights. For the first time in years, she felt like her success had real meaning. She wasn't just making money anymore. She was investing in a future that mattered. She thought about Tyler's enthusiasm for learning, Diana's fierce protectiveness of her son, and Grandpa Joe's wisdom. They had accepted her help, but more importantly, they had accepted her friendship. Catherine picked up her phone and started researching other programs Tyler might enjoy. She found robotics clubs, science camps, and engineering competitions. For the first time in her adult life, Catherine was thinking about someone else's dreams instead of just her own. The next morning, Catherine walked into her office with a new sense of purpose. She called her assistant and asked her to research scholarship programs for gifted students from low-income families. Are we starting a new charitable program? Her assistant asked. Catherine smiled. No, we're starting something better. We're starting to make a real difference. That afternoon, Catherine drove to Peterson's Auto Repair to tell Tyler the good news officially. When she arrived, she found him showing another customer how to check their oil level. That's important, Tyler was explaining to an elderly woman. If your oil gets too low, your engine could break. The woman thanked Tyler and slipped him a $5 bill, which Tyler immediately tried to give back. Keep it, honey, the woman insisted. Good advice is worth paying for. Catherine watched this interaction and felt a warmth spread through her chest. Tyler wasn't just smart and kind. He was already making a difference in his community, one person at a time. As the woman left, Tyler noticed Catherine and ran over to her. Catherine! Guess what?
Mom said yes.
I'm going to engineering camp. I heard, Catherine said, grinning. Are you excited? Excited doesn't even cover it, Tyler said. This is going to be the best summer ever. Looking at Tyler's beaming face, Catherine knew he was right. It was going to be the best summer ever, for both of them. The summer engineering program changed Tyler's life in ways Catherine never could have imagined. Every evening he called her to share what he'd learned that day. His excitement was infectious as he described building robots, programming computers, and working with 3D printers. Catherine, you won't believe what we did today. Tyler's voice bubbled through the phone. We designed a water filter that could help people in places where the water isn't clean. My team's filter removed 97% of the bad stuff. Catherine found herself looking forward to these daily calls more than any business meeting. Tyler's enthusiasm reminded her why she had fallen in love with technology in the first place. But it wasn't just Tyler who was changing. Catherine had started spending more time thinking about how her company could make a real difference in the world. She began researching ways her technology could help solve social problems instead of just making profits. When Tyler returned from the program, he was bursting with new ideas and confidence. Catherine picked him up from the university campus, and during the drive home, Tyler talked nonstop about his projects and the friends he'd made. The best part wasn't even the technology, Tyler said as they pulled into his neighborhood. It was meeting other kids who love learning as much as I do. I never knew there were so many of us out there. Catherine realized that Tyler had found something precious, a community of young people who shared his passion for learning and creating. At his regular school, he was often the only one excited about science and math. At the engineering program, he was surrounded by kindred spirits. Tyler, Catherine said as they parked outside his apartment, how would you feel about joining a robotics club during the school year? I found one that meets on Saturdays at the community college. Tyler's eyes lit up. Really? You'd help me do that too? If your mom approves, Catherine said. I think it's important for you to stay connected with other young engineers. That evening, Catherine sat with Diana, Tyler, and Grandpa Joe around their small kitchen table, discussing Tyler's future. The walls were now decorated with certificates and photos from the summer program, and Tyler's confidence was obvious in the way he talked about his projects. I've been thinking, Catherine said carefully, about starting a foundation to help other kids like Tyler. Kids who are smart and motivated but need opportunities to reach their potential. Diana looked up from her coffee. What kind of foundation? One that provides scholarships for summer programs, sponsors robotics clubs, and maybe even helps families with things like transportation to special schools, Catherine explained. Tyler opened my eyes to how many barriers exist for talented kids who just need a chance. Grandpa Joe leaned back in his chair. You're talking about helping a lot of families. I am, Catherine nodded. My company makes enough profit that I can afford to invest in young people's futures. But I'd want Tyler to help me figure out what kids really need. Tyler looked shocked. You want me to help run a foundation? I want you to help me understand what obstacles you and other kids face, Catherine clarified. You know better than I do what would actually make a difference. Over the following months, Catherine's foundation became Tyler's passion project outside of school. Every weekend, he and Catherine visited community centers, schools, and youth programs, talking to kids about their dreams and the challenges they faced. Catherine was amazed by what she learned. Some kids were brilliant at math but couldn't afford calculators. Others wanted to join science clubs but had no way to get to meetings. Many were the first in their families to be interested in college and had no one to guide them through the process. Tyler became Catherine's translator, helping her understand the real needs of young people from working families. He suggested creating a mentorship program where successful adults could be paired with motivated students. He recommended providing not just money for programs, but also transportation and supplies. It's not enough to pay for the camp, Tyler explained to Catherine during one of their planning meetings. Kids also need help getting there, and they need someone to explain why the camp matters for their future. Catherine realized that Tyler was teaching her as much as she was helping him. His perspective as someone who had lived these challenges made her foundation more effective than it ever could have been without his input. The foundation's first event was a science fair for middle school students from low-income schools. Catherine rented a community center and provided prizes for creativity, innovation, and persistence. Tyler helped judge the projects and gave a speech about following your dreams even when the path isn't easy. Catherine watched from the back of the room as Tyler talked to the younger students. He answered their questions about the engineering program, shared tips for doing well in math and science, and most importantly, he listened to their own ideas and dreams. 2 years ago, I was sitting where you are, Tyler told the group. I thought engineering was just something I read about in books. But with the right support and a lot of hard work, dreams can become reality. After Tyler's speech, Catherine was approached by several parents who wanted to know more about the foundation's programs. A mother named Rosa told Catherine about her daughter Isabella, who loved computers but had never had access to programming classes. She builds games on paper, Rosa explained. She draws all the characters and writes out the rules. But she's never used actual computer programming. Catherine immediately thought of Tyler's excitement when he first learned to code at the engineering program. Would Isabella be interested in a computer programming class on Saturdays? Rosa's eyes filled with tears. She would love it, but I work weekends and don't have a car to drive her. This was exactly the kind of barrier Tyler had helped Catherine understand. It wasn't enough to offer the class. They needed to provide transportation, too. By the end of the school year, Catherine's foundation was supporting 30 students in various programs. They provided scholarships for summer camps, transportation to robotics clubs, and mentorship from professional engineers and scientists. Tyler had become the foundation's unofficial youth ambassador. He spoke at fundraising events, helped recruit new mentors, and most importantly, he showed other kids that someone from their community could succeed in STEM fields. One evening, as Catherine and Tyler reviewed applications for the foundation's summer programs, Tyler looked up from his papers with a thoughtful expression. Catherine, he said, do you ever think about how one flat tire changed everything? Catherine smiled. I think about it every day. That flat tire led me to you, and you led me to understand what my life was really supposed to be about. Tyler nodded. I used to think that helping people was something you did when you had extra time. But now I see that helping people can be your whole purpose. Catherine felt her heart swell with pride. Tyler wasn't just excelling academically. He was developing into a young man who understood the importance of using his talents to lift others up. Tyler, Catherine said, you're going to change the world someday. Tyler grinned. Maybe. But right now I'm happy just helping change our little corner of it. As Catherine drove home that night, she reflected on how much her life had changed since that afternoon on Oak Avenue. She was still successful in business, but now that success felt meaningful. Every dollar she made gave her more resources to invest in young people's futures. She thought about Tyler's mother, Diana, who had been able to reduce her work hours because Tyler's scholarship programs meant she didn't have to save every penny for his education. She thought about Grandpa Joe, who now had several foundation-sponsored students working at his garage, learning practical skills alongside their academic studies. Most of all, she thought about Tyler himself. The bright-eyed boy who had changed her tire had grown into a confident young man who was already making a difference in other people's lives. Catherine realized that the love she felt for Tyler and his family wasn't romantic or sentimental. It was the deep satisfaction that comes from finding your true purpose in life. Tyler had shown her that success without service was empty, but success combined with generosity could change the world. 2 years later, Catherine stood at the back of the grand ballroom at the Riverside Hotel, watching 15-year-old Tyler adjust his tie nervously. Tonight was the annual gala for the Catherine Williams Foundation for Young Engineers, and Tyler was about to give the keynote speech to 300 donors, students, and community leaders. Catherine still remembered the scared 12-year-old who had helped her with a flat tire. Now Tyler stood tall and confident, preparing to address an audience that included mayors, business leaders, and university presidents. But what hadn't changed was his genuine desire to help others. "Ladies and gentlemen," the master of ceremonies announced, "please welcome Tyler Peterson, student ambassador for the Catherine Williams Foundation." Tyler walked to the podium with steady steps. Catherine felt her heart race with nervous pride, the way any parent would feel watching their child perform on stage. 3 years ago, Tyler began, his voice clear and strong. "I was walking home from school when I saw a woman crying beside her broken-down car. I had a choice. I could keep walking and mind my own business, or I could stop and offer help." The ballroom fell silent as Tyler told the story that had become legendary among foundation supporters. But he told it differently now, with the wisdom that came from understanding how that moment had changed not just 2 lives, but hundreds. "I stopped to help because my grandfather taught me that's what neighbors do for each other. I had no idea that 20 minutes of changing a tire would lead to all this." Tyler gestured to the decorated ballroom filled with people celebrating the foundation's work. Catherine wiped away a tear as Tyler continued. "But the real story isn't about a flat tire. It's about what happens when someone sees potential in you and gives you a chance to grow. Catherine Williams didn't just pay for my summer camp. She saw something in me that I didn't even see in myself." Tyler paused and looked directly at Catherine, standing at the back of the room. "She taught me that success isn't about what you achieve for yourself. It's about what you make possible for others." The audience murmured in appreciation as Tyler shared statistics about the foundation's impact. In 2 years, they had provided scholarships to over 200 students, established 15 robotics clubs in low-income schools, and created mentorship programs that connected working professionals with aspiring young engineers. "But numbers don't tell the whole story," Tyler continued. "Let me tell you about Isabella Martinez, who is here tonight. 2 years ago, Isabella was designing video games on paper because she'd never touched a computer. Last month, she won a national programming competition." Catherine spotted Isabella in the audience, sitting with her proud mother, Rosa. The 16-year-old was now one of the foundation's peer mentors, teaching younger kids the coding skills she had learned through the foundation's programs. Or consider James Wilson, who couldn't afford the entry fee for his school's science fair. The foundation not only paid his fee but provided materials for his project. James is now a freshman at the State University on a full engineering scholarship. As Tyler spoke about student after student whose lives had been transformed, Catherine felt overwhelmed by the ripple effects of that day on Oak Avenue. Each young person Tyler mentioned had gone on to help others, creating an ever-expanding circle of positive change. "The most important thing I've learned," Tyler said, "is that opportunity is contagious. When you give one person a chance to succeed, they turn around and create chances for others." Tyler's voice grew stronger as he reached the heart of his speech. "Catherine Williams changed my life, but not in the way you might think. Yes, she paid for programs and opened doors, But more importantly, she showed me that my life could have meaning beyond my own success. She taught me that the highest form of achievement is lifting others up with you. The audience began to applaud, but Tyler held up his hand. I'm not finished yet. Tonight I want to announce something special. Next month I'll be starting my junior year of high school. I've been accepted to the early admission program at the state university, where I'll be studying engineering while finishing my high school diploma. Catherine felt her heart leap with pride and excitement. But that's not the big news, Tyler continued with a grin. The big news is that I've convinced the university to let me start a peer mentoring program, where high school students mentor middle school students in STEM subjects. We're calling it the Chain Reaction Project, because that's what happens when young people start helping other young people. The ballroom erupted in applause. Catherine found herself crying openly, overwhelmed by Tyler's maturity and vision. Tyler waited for the applause to die down before delivering his final message. 3 years ago, I thought helping people was something you did when you had extra time or money. But Catherine taught me that helping people isn't something you do on the side. It's the whole point. It's what makes success worth having. As Tyler concluded his speech, the entire ballroom rose to their feet in a standing ovation. Catherine made her way through the crowd toward the stage, receiving congratulations and praise from donors and community leaders. When she finally reached Tyler, he stepped down from the stage and gave her a hug that lasted several seconds. I'm so proud of you, Catherine whispered in his ear. I learned from the best, Tyler replied. Later that evening, after the gala had ended and the guests had gone home, Catherine sat with Tyler, Diana, and Grandpa Joe in the hotel's quiet lounge. Diana had tears in her eyes as she watched her son field congratulations from university professors and business leaders who wanted to support his new mentoring program. You know, Grandpa Joe said to Catherine, when Tyler first told me about you, I was suspicious. I thought you might be one of those rich people who help kids to make themselves feel good. Catherine nodded. I was at first, but Tyler changed that. How? Diana asked. Catherine thought carefully about her answer. Tyler taught me the difference between charity and love. Charity is giving money to make yourself feel better. Love is changing your whole life to make someone else's life better. Diana smiled. You didn't just change Tyler's life, Catherine. You changed our whole family's life. I was able to go back to school because Tyler's scholarships meant I didn't have to save every penny for his education. Now I'm 6 months away from becoming a registered nurse. Catherine felt her throat tighten with emotion. You did that yourself, Diana. I just removed a few obstacles. Sometimes removing obstacles is everything, Grandpa Joe said wisely. As they sat together in comfortable silence, Catherine reflected on the journey that had brought them all to this moment. She thought about her empty penthouse apartment and her successful but meaningless business career before she met Tyler. Now her life was full of purpose, relationships, and the deep satisfaction that came from watching young people discover their potential. Tyler broke the silence. Catherine, can I ask you something? Of course. Do you ever regret that day? Getting a flat tire, I mean. If it hadn't happened, you'd probably be even richer now. You wouldn't have spent all this money on the foundation. Catherine looked around the table at these 3 people who had become her chosen family. She thought about Isabella and James and the dozens of other students whose lives had been transformed. She thought about the Chain Reaction Project and all the young people who would benefit from Tyler's leadership. Tyler, she said finally, that flat tire was the best thing that ever happened to me. Before I met you, I had success but no purpose. I had money but no meaning. I had achievements but no joy. She reached across the table and took Tyler's hand. You didn't just fix my tire that day. You fixed my whole life. Tyler squeezed her hand.
Maybe we fixed each other. Catherine smiled through her tears.
Maybe we did. As they prepared to leave the hotel, Tyler pulled Catherine aside. There's one more thing, he said. I've been working on a project in Grandpa Joe's garage. It's a surprise for you. What kind of project? Tyler grinned mysteriously. You'll have to wait and see. But I promise it's something that will help a lot of people. The next Saturday, Catherine arrived at Peterson's Auto Repair to find Tyler and Grandpa Joe standing beside a workbench, covered with a sheet. Are you ready for the big reveal? Tyler asked excitedly. Catherine nodded, curious about what they had been working on. Tyler pulled away the sheet to reveal a sleek device about the size of a smartphone. It's a tire pressure monitoring system, Tyler explained proudly. but not for fancy cars that already have them. This one is designed for older cars like the ones we see in our neighborhood. It costs about $30 to make, and it sends alerts to your phone when your tire pressure is getting low. Catherine stared at the device in amazement. Tyler, this is incredible. Did you design this yourself? Grandpa Joe helped with the mechanical parts, and I did the programming, Tyler said modestly. We thought if we could prevent even one person from getting stranded with a flat tire, it would be worth it. Catherine picked up the device, marveling at its simplicity and elegance. Tyler, this could help millions of people. Have you thought about patenting it? Tyler and Grandpa Joe exchanged glances. Actually, Tyler said, we were hoping you might help us figure out how to get it manufactured and distributed, not to make money, but to help people like you who might get stuck on the side of the road. Catherine felt her heart swell with pride and love for this remarkable young man who was already thinking like the engineer and humanitarian he was destined to become. Tyler, she said, I would be honored to help you bring this invention to the world. As Catherine drove home that evening, she reflected on the incredible journey that had begun with a flat tire and a kind-hearted boy. Tyler was no longer the 12-year-old who had rescued her on Oak Avenue. He was becoming a young man who would rescue countless others through his inventions, his leadership, and his unwavering commitment to helping people. But what filled Catherine's heart most was the knowledge that their story was just beginning. Tyler had taught her that love wasn't about romantic feelings or even family bonds. Love was about seeing potential in someone and dedicating yourself to helping them reach it. Love was about using your success to create opportunities for others. Love was about building a legacy that would outlast your own life. The flat tire that had seemed like such a disaster 3 years ago had actually been the beginning of the most meaningful chapter of Catherine's life. She had gained not just a protege, but a purpose. Not just a successful foundation, but a found family. Not just a changed life, but a transformed heart. And as Tyler continued to grow and achieve and help others, Catherine knew that the best was yet to come.